Welcome students. Today in this session, I'll be talking about the different kinds of biogeochemical cycle. I will be discussing the role of different kinds of microbes in the operation of these kind of biogeochemical cycles. So, let us first move to what are biogeochemical cycles. So, what are biogeochemical cycle? Biogeochemical cycle refers to the complex interaction which is existing between the bio, that is the organic form, and the inorganic forms which are present in the geosphere. Now there are transitions between the biological form and the geological form through a series of complex chemical reactions. This kind of reactions are occurring everywhere in the environment, including the geosphere, the hydrosphere, the atmosphere, as well as the biosphere. Now, in this cycle, we will see that the state of the different element gets changed from one state to another. Now, as a result of these changes, many of the compounds become available to the plants and animals. So, thus the main function of biogeochemical cycles are, it helps in the mobilization of the different kind of compounds from their unavailable, that is from their inorganic form to organic form. We will also discuss the role of the different microbes, or we will see how the microbes helps in bioremediation of inorganic as well as the organic forms. Now, the most important biogeochemical cycles are of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, sulfur and phosphorus. But in this session, we will be only discussing about the carbon and nitrogen cycle. The different types of biogeochemical cycles are the gaseous cycle, which includes the hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen and so on. Sedimentary cycle, the examples of which are sulfur and phosphorus. The hydrologic cycle, which involves the water cycle. Now, all of these cycles are very important in maintaining the balance of this planet Earth. Let us now see the carbon cycle. Now, this is the feature of a carbon cycle, or how the carbon cycle is taking place. We can see that there are two main phases. One is the carbon fixation phase, another is the carbon respiration phase. Now, first we will see that what are the different sources of carbon in our biosphere or in our atmosphere. The simplest carbon reservoir is the carbon dioxide present in the atmosphere. Apart from this, we have the carbonate which are present in rock sediments. Now, there is an interconversion between the carbonate which is present in the lithosphere and the carbon dioxide present in the atmosphere to the organic form of carbon, that is the carbohydrates.
Ma'am, how does the carbonate present in the oceans act as a buffer between the atmosphere and the sediment carbon reservoirs?
Well, the carbon dioxide which is present in the atmosphere, now, if there is an excess carbon dioxide present in the atmosphere, then the ocean absorbs some of this gaseous carbon dioxide and converts it to bicarbonic or carbonic acids. The carbon dioxide, it is acting as a buffer between the atmosphere and between the sediment. As a result of increased level of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, it is leading to the increase in the carbonic acid level. Now, this carbonic acid level is again contributing to the acidity of the water bodies. As a result, most of the flora and fauna is being hampered by the increased level of this hydrogen ions. Thus, the carbon dioxide has its lethal effect also. Now, apart from this, we know that the excess carbon dioxide is contributing to the global warming, and the global warming is increasing the temperature of the Mother Earth. Apart from this, due to the increase in temperature, the physical conditions of the ocean bodies are also getting affected. The good example is the coral reef. Coral reef is a highly productive animal. Now, as a result of increase in the temperature of the water bodies, then what is happening? The coral reef ecosystem is getting affected, and as a result, it is leading to the decrease in the productivity. Let's now come to the two different phases. One is the carbon fixation. The carbon fixation means the fixation of the inorganic form of carbon dioxide to carbohydrate. This occurs through a process known as photosynthesis. The photosynthesis traps solar light or the sunlight energy and uses this energy for the conversion process. The photosynthesis is performed by photoautotrophic organisms such as plant, algae, certain microbes and so on. Now we have the examples of phytoplanktons also. The phytoplanktons, which are found in the water bodies, can convert the carbon dioxide present in the atmosphere to the organic form of carbon, that is carbohydrate. Now all this is possible through the process of photosynthesis and which is known as the carbon fixation. Now similarly we have carbon respiration, which involves again both aerobic and anaerobic respiration. Aerobic respiration means that is the carbohydrate is getting oxidized to form again back the carbon dioxide. If it takes place in presence of oxygen, it is known as aerobic respiration. If it takes place in absence of oxygen, it is known as anaerobic respiration. The products of aerobic respiration is carbon dioxide. The product of anaerobic respiration, which is also known as fermentation, it leads to the formation of fossil fuels, or it might lead to the formation of methane. So these are the end products of anaerobic respiration. Now let us see what are the different organic carbon found in the biosphere. The different organic carbons are cellulose, lignin, hemicellulose, humus, starch and so on. Now these serve as the food supply for the heterotrophic organisms. Thus, these are all macromolecular in structure and they can only be degraded with the help of certain microbial enzymes or fungal enzymes. Now, let us see what is the content of organic carbon per dry mass. If we see that cellulose comprises of 15 to 60%, hemicellulose 10 to 30%, lignin 5 to 30%, followed by protein and nucleic acids which only constitute from 2 to 15%. Thus, we can see in this table that the carbohydrate or the organic carbon forms a great good amount of dry mass of plant. Cellulose, which is a polymer. The cellulose contains glucose unit which are linked by beta-1,4 glycosidic linkages. It is insoluble in water. Now this cellulose can be degraded by the help of certain microbial enzymes secreted from fungi like Aspergillus or Fomus and so on. Now these kind of enzymes, since cellulose is a macromolecular in structure, it cannot be taken up by the microbial cell. As a result, these enzymes cleave the cellulose molecule into smaller molecule and these smaller molecules are then taken up by the cell and then the cell uses it for its respiration purpose. So in this way, the cellulose degradation takes place in the environment, followed by lignin, which is also degraded by the microbial enzymes, hemicellulose, which is also degraded by microbial enzymes, and the other, like the starch, it is degraded by amylase. So all of these enzymes are mainly extracellular in nature. Now let us come to acetogenesis and methanogenesis. What is acetogenesis? Acetogenesis means the formation of acetate compounds.
Ma'am, how is acetogenesis beneficial to the carbon cycle?
Well, now acetogenesis takes place as a result of anaerobic fermentation or as a result of anaerobic respiration. There the organic carbon is broken down into acetate. This acetate is further taken up by the methanogenic bacteria and the methanogenic bacteria uses acetate as its terminal electron acceptor in the respiratory chain and as a result it produces methane. So thus methane is a more reduced compound than acetate and therefore it leads to the formation of methane gas. And these kind of systems where it is found mostly in the anaerobic conditions, that is in the wetlands if you go or the swampy marshy lands, you will find methanogenesis formation. So this methanogenesis takes place with the help of bacteria which are known as methanogens. Methanogenesis helps in decomposition of biomass Otherwise, the compounds would have become locked in the form of, or the organic compounds would have been locked in the form of fermentation products. The fermentation products are broken down into simpler methane with the help of this methanogenic bacteria. Besides methanogenic bacteria, there is another group of bacteria which is known as carboxydotrophic bacteria. The example of which is Pseudomonas carboxydoflava. Now this Pseudomonas carboxydoflava converts carbon monoxide to carbon dioxide. Carbon monoxide is a highly poisonous gas which is emitted by the automobiles, and it is also, or when it enters the respiratory system, it is a highly deadly poisonous gas and it combines with the cytochromes. Thus this carboxydotrophic bacteria converts them to carbon dioxide. Now let us once again move back to the carbon cycle. We see that carbon can exist in many forms. One is carbon dioxide form, one is CH2O form, one is methane form, another is carbon monoxide form. So these are the different reservoirs of carbon. Now carbon dioxide is converted to CH2O form through the process of carbon fixation. Again, it is released from the CH2 form through anaerobic respiration or fermentation or through respiration. Now further on, the carbon monoxide can be converted to CO2 form. On the other hand, this organic matter, if it undergoes your fermentation, it leads to the production of methane. As well as the carbon dioxide can also be released to produce methane through the help of anaerobic respiration. Now this methane can become oxidized to again form carbon dioxide. So the whole cycle shows what? There is interconversion of the different organic and inorganic forms occurring in the atmosphere, hydrosphere, geosphere, biosphere. Now let us move to the nitrogen cycle. We can see that nitrogen can exist in the different forms, in the form of organic nitrogen, simple nitrogen N2, nitrate, nitrite, ammonium and so on. Again the same kind of chemical reactions and the interconversion from one form to the other form. Nitrogen as such in the atmosphere exists in the form of nitrogen gas, which is very inert. Apart from this, nitrogen is also released into the atmosphere through the volcanic eruptions. Now let us see how nitrogen is important. It helps in the synthesis of DNA. It is in the building block of proteins as well as in the chlorophyll molecules in the form of porphyrin ring. Now the nitrogen, or the first step in the nitrogen fixation, is the conversion of simple nitrogen N2 to ammonium form. Now this is done by certain symbiotically associated bacteria such as Frankia, Rhizobium, or the free-living cyanobacteria as Oscillatoria and free-living bacteria as Azospirillum. Now these group of bacteria, they contain the enzyme nitrogenase.
Ma'am, how is the nitrogenase enzyme protected from oxygen in aerobic bacteria?
Well, in the case of aerobic bacteria or certain other bacteria also, the nitrogenase is protected from oxygen as oxygen inactivates nitrogenase. Now, in case of the certain bacteria, it is produced in specialized cell, or the entire nitrogen fixation takes place in specialized cell where the oxygen cannot gain entry. Right? Or there are certain pigments such as leg hemoglobin which combines with oxygen and prevents the interaction of oxygen with nitrogenase. Nitrogenase catalyzes the reaction from nitrogen to ammonium, and the ammonium formed is again incorporated into the organic acids which forms amino acids, majorly glutamate, and this glutamate transfer the amino group to the other organic acids with the help of transaminases. So in this way, the different amino acids are synthesized from the transamination reaction. This was the first step. The second is the mineralization. The mineralization means that is the removal of the ammonium ion from the organic nitrogen source. The example of which is glutamate. The glutamate is getting converted to alpha ketoglutarate with the help of the enzyme glutamate dehydrogenase. Now this glutamate dehydrogenase is releasing the ammonium ion, as we can see, and this ammonium is liberated to the environment. So therefore there is a loss, and this loss is known as mineralization. Further on we have nitrification, where the ammonium ion is oxidized by the certain nitrobacter like Nitrosomonas or Nitrobacter, first to nitrite and then to nitrate. Now all of these reactions are exothermic reaction, and thus they drive the reaction forward. This is an example of Nitrosomonas bacterial cell. So this is again a case of nitrification where nitrate is produced. Now this nitrate produced can be taken up by plant roots, by algae, by certain bacteria, fungi and so on. After it enters the cell, the nitrate reduces again into ammonium ion. This ammonium ion is again incorporated into the alpha keto acids and thereby forming the amino acids. The entire process is catalyzed by nitrite reductase as well as nitrate reductase. So this is an assimilatory process, since the nitrogen is assimilated here in the form of organic nitrogen or in the form of amino acids. Now there are certain denitrification steps also. So far we have seen that the inorganic form getting converted to organic form. But the organic form can also release certain ammonium ions, and these ammonium ions are again getting released to the atmosphere and thereby maintaining a balance. One good example is Anammox reaction. Anammox reaction, which occurs in the Planktomycetes group living in the deep ocean, they carry out anaerobic oxidation of ammonium, thereby producing nitrogen. This nitrogen is released into the atmosphere. Another example of dissimilatory nitrate reduction is carried out by Pseudomonas denitrificans. Pseudomonas denitrificans again converts the nitrate, or it accepts nitrate as a terminal electron acceptor, and from this it produces nitrogen again, which is released to the atmosphere. Thus we can see that the entire nitrogen cycle consists of a series of chemical reaction. This chemical reaction converts the inorganic form to organic form, and thereby it maintains the balance of nitrogen in the whole biosphere as well as in the whole environment. Now many anthropogenic causes have disturbed this nitrogen balance. Look at the cycle once more, which shows there are processes like denitrification where the nitrogen is released, Anammox reaction again where nitrogen is released, as well as the assimilatory reaction, nitrate getting converted to organic nitrogen or to ammonium compounds. Again we have the ammonium compounds getting oxidized to nitrate, this nitrate again taken up and forming organic nitrogen. So in this way the whole process is operating. So let us then now conclude. We studied that the biogeochemical cycles are highly balanced cycles. Now these cycles they are performed with the help of certain microbial communities. Due to the disturbances in the atmosphere, in the geosphere, these kind of cycles have become affected. As a result, the balance of these kind of elements are now disturbed, or they are getting locked in certain compounds. So thus we need to maintain a pure environment in order to promote a more balanced biogeochemical cycle. Thank you.